Now, I'm sure I'm not alone in thinking that one of the downsides of travelling abroad to warmer places is the increase in the number of creepy crawlies that seem determined to quite literally get under my skin. And though most bugs will leave you with no more than a nip or a sting, there's one whose bite, if you leave it untreated, could leave you needing far more serious treatment when you return home. But the good news is there is a way to protect yourself, so don't go anywhere until you hear what that is. Summer holidays aren't just about relaxing by the beach. For many people, heading to the countryside for walks, picnics and even camping is an ideal way to relax. But these outdoor activities come with a health hazard. In many holiday hotspots around the UK and Europe, ticks are a major and rapidly growing problem. These small spider-like creatures bury themselves into your skin and can pass on a condition called Lyme disease, which, if left untreated, can lead to tiredness and muscle pain and perhaps heart problems, seizures, or even death. Veronika Valentova is from the Czech Republic and has been in the UK for the last 15 years. She lives in Bristol with her 2 children, and as a family, they love the great outdoors.
I love being in nature. I love being outdoors, just walk and look around, just feels great. You feel free. My children love nature. Be able to do and explore is just much more rewarding than being inside playing with toys.
Back in 2016, when Veronika was 7 months pregnant with Isabella, she took her son Michael on holiday to the Czech Republic to spend time with the family and learn more about the country they were from.
Every morning he would go to Czech preschool where he would learn the language, and every afternoon we would spend in the nature. So we would go out in the forest and we would build houses from lots of natural stuff like stakes, and we would scoot in and we would play hide and seek in the fields, just things that we don't get to do very much in England.
But after one such walk in the countryside, Veronika found a tick attached to her skin.
Something was itching me under my breast, and I kept scratching it, and I was thinking, what's that? And I just scraped it away, pulled it, and so it was a tick. But obviously without the legs, because I didn't remove it correctly.
Veronika wasn't particularly worried and continued with her summer holiday, but within a few weeks she started to feel seriously unwell.
I had severe pain in my pelvic and in my hips. It was really hard to walk. It was really hard to really get out of bed and do anything. And I was already 40 weeks pregnant, and I thought I got flu. Maybe it's the hot weather and the pregnancy. Didn't know really, just forgot all about the tick bite. It just didn't pop in my head at all.
Putting her symptoms down to the late stages of pregnancy, it was some time before Veronika sought out medical help. She had no idea that what she was suffering from was most likely Lyme disease, caught from the tick that she'd found buried in her skin. At the London School of Hygiene and Tropical Medicine, Dr. James Logan has studied the condition closely over the years.
Lyme disease is a bacteria which is found inside the tick when it's infected. And so when it bites, it can transmit the bacteria into us. Now, the symptoms of Lyme disease can really vary between different people. Some people can get it and not even know they've got it. Other people can develop very severe symptoms. And certainly, if you have it and it goes untreated for a long period of time, it can cause paralysis, it can start to affect the internal organs.
If you have any symptoms within a few days of being bitten by a tick, then a course of antibiotics can help, but leave it for any length of time and there's a risk of long-term damage. One of the clues that you might have caught Lyme disease is a particular kind of rash.
One of the telltale signs of Lyme disease is a rash called an erythema migrans, or a bullseye rash. So it's just a red rash that looks like a bullseye, and it starts to spread. And if you have that, you definitely have Lyme disease, but it's only found in 50% of people that have Lyme disease. So if you don't have it, it doesn't mean you don't have Lyme disease.
Back at home in Bristol, shortly after her summer holiday, Veronika gave birth to Isabella, who is perfectly healthy. But she continued to feel very weak, and then she noticed that red rash.
I actually got a rash all over my chest and all over my back, and I went to the doctors, asked about the rash, and they said, oh, you are breastfeeding, you are weak, it's still early date after the delivery, we don't know what it is, it could be just that your immune system is a bit low, so they gave me some steroid cream to put on the rash.
But sure that it was something more serious, Veronica went to see a doctor back home in the Czech Republic, who said her long list of symptoms exactly mirrored what you could expect with Lyme disease. Frustratingly, though, here in the UK, she's yet to have it formally diagnosed, as her blood tests have come back negative, which, according to Dr. Logan, is common in Lyme disease cases.
One of the tricky things about Lyme disease is that it can be quite difficult to diagnose. So there are diagnostic techniques, but they don't always give a positive result when they should. But it's not just about the diagnostic test, it's also about the history of where you've been, where have you been on holiday, what have the symptoms been.
Well, Veronica is in no doubt that it is Lyme disease that she's suffering from. Over the last 18 months, she's had to leave her job as a childminder and seek help from family and friends like Christina to help carry out the simplest of tasks.
I can see change almost every day. She's just getting worse. It's just the symptoms are getting worse. Because I am with her every day, I can actually see it. I can see that she's got really bad days. You know, she's just getting worse.
I struggle to get out of bed. I struggle to just do basic things like making myself breakfast, because sometimes I get so weak I can't even carry a bowl with cereals. It's just too heavy. And sometimes the pain is so crippling that you just can't get on. You need so much painkillers that make you drowsy and make you even worse than you are. And you like eating, mommy?
Now, of course, there are ticks in the UK as well as in holiday destinations abroad. Around 6% of the ones found here are estimated to carry Lyme disease, whereas in Central Europe, the figure is around 20%. And with the number of ticks increasing by as much as 70% in the last 10 years, you can see why it's feared that holidaymakers to European countries, where the tiny creatures are most common, face a growing risk of being bitten and possibly contracting the disease. In France, where 17 million Brits visit every year, ticks have been described as a major health issue after an increase in cases of Lyme disease over the last 10 years. There were 27,000 recorded in 2016 alone. Indeed, so seriously is the risk considered for tourists that an app has been launched called Signalement Tic, which translates as Tick Alert. With the help of people registering locations where they've been bitten, it's been designed to build up a map of the areas it's best to avoid. An English version recently came out so that non-French-speaking visitors can use it too. In other destinations, however, you might just need to keep your wits about you. So, back in his lab at the London School of Hygiene and Tropical Medicine, Dr. Logan has advice on what to look out for.
If you're in the countryside, and particularly if you're in an area where there's lots of deer and there's fairly sort of longish grass, that's the kind of place where you're likely to pick up a tick. And anybody can pick up a tick. They do a behaviour called questing, so they climb to the edge of vegetation and they put their front legs out. And as you walk past, they'll cling on.
Once the tick has found a place on your skin in which to bury itself, it's then that it can potentially pass on Lyme disease, and Dr. Logan has drafted in an assistant to demonstrate how they do it.
So we're just going to put the tick onto the start line of your hand here, and what it should do is start to climb upwards. That's what we call questing behaviour, and it does that because it's trying to find a place to feed on your blood, essentially, a nice warm sweaty place. So it has these sort of sensing organs on its legs called the Haller's organ, and it uses that to detect carbon dioxide and other chemicals given off the skin. So your arm at the moment smells really attractive to a tick. And you can see actually it's turned round and it's starting to head north now, isn't it?
So if you're planning to venture into the countryside this year, either in the UK or in Europe, James advises some simple precautions to keep the ticks at bay.
So there are lots of ways that you can protect yourselves against ticks. So you can tuck your trousers into your socks, which stops them being able to get in. You can wear wellies as well. Of course, if it's the middle of summer, then it's really hot. You can use insect repellents, and they work really well. So you can spray them on the skin or on your clothing.
As Dr. Logan has demonstrated before, the most effective repellents are the ones that contain DEET.
It smells quite nice to us, actually, doesn't it? But to a tick, hopefully, it won't smell very nice.
Once DEET has been applied, the tick will quickly change its mind and be repelled away from your skin.
So it's definitely not as active, this one, is it?
Yeah.
It's slowly making its way up, but it's actually starting to go sideways now. And it's not sticking its legs out, you know, it's not actually doing that sort of characteristic sort of questing behaviour. So that's 3 minutes. The repellent was applied down to this line here on your arm, this middle line. It hasn't even crossed that line, so it absolutely is being repelled by this. So this passes the test. This repellent works against ticks.
And if the worst happens and you do find a tick on your body, here's how to get rid of it safely.
So the best way to remove a tick is to use a very, very fine pair of tweezers, not the ones you pluck your eyebrows with, but a very fine pair of tweezers that you can buy in sort of outdoor shops. Grab the tick as close to the skin as possible and pull upward, quite firmly upwards. So no twisting with the tweezers. You can also buy tools that kind of look like a sort of claw of a hammer, for example, and you can use those to grab the tick, again, near the skin, and with those ones you do twist. So those are the two main best methods to remove a tick.
Perhaps the most important thing to remember when removing a tick is not to kill it or try to harm it, as this can cause the tick to secrete more of its toxins into your bloodstream. That may well have happened to Veronica when she scraped the tick off her skin, something she now really regrets.
If I could take the time back, I would be much more aware about ticks, how to prevent ticks in the first place. If you got bitten, how to remove the tick safely, and what to look for after. So if week after I got bitten by a tick, after that I got flu-like symptoms, I know I need treatment now and immediately.
And while Veronica continues to struggle with the consequences of being bitten, she wants to raise awareness so that no other holidaymaker has to deal with that too.
Year ago, I was completely healthy, fit mother who would just never stop, you know. I loved my job. I looked after children, you know. I was running every day and I was just happy. And a year later, I'm 35 and I feel like I'm 70 years old.